There is a moment in every life when you decide to rise, to stand taller than your fear, to speak louder than your doubt, to chase the vision that sets your soul on fire. This is that moment. And here, we walk it together with stories that awaken, voices that inspire, and truths that set you free. This is Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald, where hope has a voice, and that voice is yours. And welcome to the show, everybody. My name is Kevin McDonald, but you knew that. If you didn't know that, you do it know it now. And Rochelle is right there. It's so nice to see you, Rochelle. How are you? I do. And we've got a great guest for us today. Unfortunately, Rochelle's microphone might not be good and her Wi-Fi, so we may lose her beautiful picture here, but I'm hoping that you can stay in and contribute necessarily without the picture. So we'll do that. But our guest today... Yeah, me too. Whatever you said. and Dr. Joseph, and can you pronounce your last name so that I don't massacre, which I do all the time?
Drolshagen.
Very good. And that's German?
It is, yes. A good Italian kid with a German last name.
Oh, very good. Wow, you grew up in the European region, or that's where your name came from. So in any event, but Dr. Joseph, I wanted to talk to you today because you have a very unique process and a program that you work to help people's subconscious and to live their best life and to really accelerate their growth throughout the challenges that we all face in life, and to be able to do a little bit better job. You're got a PhD and you got a doctorate and all that kind. I think that's the same thing. But anyway, I don't have either of those things, which is why I don't really know. Anyway, but I'm glad that you're here and that you're going to be talking to us. So welcome to the show, Doctor.
It's great to be here with you guys. I'm looking forward to a great conversation. And already you got me busting up at the seams.
Well, I'm sorry. I'll turn my camera off and then I won't be so funny. But in any event, tell us a little bit about your work and your background and how you got to be doing this, which is really designed to help people get to where they really want to get to, because we don't know how, a lot of us.
Yeah. I grew up as one of 5 children in a very low-income blue-collar family in Detroit, Michigan. So I watched my parents struggle my entire youth, and I remember at 9 years old, I went and spent a weekend over at a friend's house, and his dad gave us $20 to go to Dairy Queen. And my family, we had to save up to do that. My parents did anyways. So I went I went through the weekend there, and then I went back home, and I walked in, and within a few minutes, I just felt there was such a difference. I didn't know energy or things like that at 9 years old, but I knew there was a different feeling that I felt going into the house. And so I promised myself, you guys, I didn't know nothing, but I said, you guys aren't living right, and I'm not going to live like you guys, and so I didn't understand it even. I just knew I didn't want to be that way. I wanted to be like how I felt when I was at my friends, and how the energy I would learn later on of the home felt and everything else. But then I got into my 20s and I followed that same path, the same processes. If things came easy for me, I felt guilty, like I didn't deserve it because I didn't work hard enough, and just like across the board, relationships, finances, like everything. It was just hard. It was hard being an adult. It was a little bit tough being a child. My parents were great people. They didn't have the tools they have available now. So at 22 years old, I had events happen, major life-changing events in my life, and I couldn't figure out why, but I knew I didn't want to live the rest of my life like that. And I started at 22 years old, leaning into trying to figure out what was broken in me and how do I fix it. And it was a continuation of that all the way up for 4 decades into what I do today.
That's amazing. 4 decades, you don't look that old, young man.
Thank you. Thank you for saying that.
Well, and I actually meant it. But
no, I believe you. Wow, now you got me questioning it. Absolutely. And I'll tell you guys, in growing up the way I grew up, and people were trying to protect me, I had multiple teachers, and my mom, that told me pretty continually growing up is there's people meant to work with their head and people meant to work with their hands, and you're going to work with your hands. So I came out of high school, and I barely got by because I didn't apply myself because I didn't need that for where I was going. And I got a job in a factory cleaning oil out of machine pits and such. It was such a filthy job to do, but I thought that was my lot in life. And to do what I do today, to be talking to you guys today, to rise up, with the education, to rise up in corporate America, to a vice president of sales for multiple organizations, to get speaking on stages, to, all the things I get to do today, it doesn't make sense with the way I grew up, because that programming within my subconscious that, we'll talk about more, like I thought my lot in life was planned for me. And I just started out by following that, but there was something inside of me, which I later identified as my spirit, that knew I was made for more than that. And not that I knocked that at all. My whole family generations have been blue collar and things like that. So I have a lot of respect for people to do, but I knew for me that there was a bigger mission, and I didn't know what it was, and I didn't know how to access that for a long time, but it kept driving me and driving me and driving me to find out what I found out to be doing what I do today. It's been such an incredible journey, and so much fear and giving up and depression and use of alcohol and things like that, trying to cope with that old life that I was told I was supposed to live.
And I want to highlight this because I think this is something that the energy within your parents' house was different than the energy within your friend's house. And that was generated by the attitudes and also by the history of what had happened. You come from a blue collar background. They came from their parents came from that. It was part of the DNA which was in the energy of the house. Am I correct in that?
Absolutely, the programming. And if I could just take a second and explain really quickly, because it kind of helps to understand what I do. So, we all have the conscious mind, and that's knowing what we want, is who we talk to, what the thoughts we entertain, what we watch on TV, all that stuff is in our conscious mind. But then there's a subconscious. And the best way I can explain this is within the subconscious, there's this motherboard that hosts all of our programming, our belief systems, our paradigms, our thoughts, the things that we have experienced in our life built into this network of this motherboard. And even experiences we didn't have firsthand, but somebody told us about, become embedded in that network. That's the voice we hear in our head. That's when we think about doing something, they go, oh, how are you going to do that? And things like that. That's that voice we hear in our head. It's just repeating back those patterns and playing them out in our thoughts. But more importantly, or just more importantly than that, is that motherboard triggers the brain waves to the actions we take or don't take. Which is why if you have somebody in financial situation, that financial struggle, and they win the lottery, it doesn't take them long to get back into that financial struggle again, because it drives what we do and what we don't do. So somebody experiencing, let's say, business growth, and they're barely scraping by or having a hard time with business growth, that programming will not allow the brain waves to be activated to take the actions that will get them out of that. So once I was able to identify that in my life, then it was going forward. Okay, if that's the case, then how do first off, I had to identify the limitations, the limiting thoughts, limiting patterns, behaviors, belief systems, all of that. And then how do I shift that? And that's been the major focus of my work. So once we shift that, now all of a sudden we can open the door. And when we talk about neuroplasticity of the brain, that's a very popular topic right now and stuff, is we can thank God for our brain's capability to rewire itself, that we can shift our results by changing that. So ultimately, if we want to change our results, we have to shift our perceptions. The quickest and most permanent way to shift our perceptions is to rewire that programming in that subconscious. I hope that makes sense.
Oh, it makes perfect sense, Rochelle. Does it make sense to you?
But that's such a powerhouse place. I'm so grateful you brought that up, Rochelle. That's such a powerhouse. You know, when I grew up, it was boys don't cry. If you want to cry, I'll give you a reason to cry, and it was things like that to lock those down and stuff. So really, but when I work, any client I work with, we come out of the gate developing what I call a dynamic vision. And part of what makes that vision dynamic is we add feeling tone to it. And the more clear we can be on that feeling tone of what that feels like to live that life, the more power we're putting into it. So it's really quite the opposite. And a lot of business growth people that I work with, I have to get them to tap back in and open that up because they've closed that down for so long because of, again, that programming and what they were taught and told and everything else. That it's got to be, you know, most business owners that are struggling, they're going based on their mind as far as what they think they need to do, which is such a weak place to come from. When we tap into that emotional power, man, that's where things start growing, exploding, and grow. And I know you know that because of what you talked about before we got on air here, as far as the changes you've been experiencing. That there's so much power to emotion. Both ways, though. When we get in fear, doubt, and worry, that's very, very powerful emotions as well, which will bring things down. You know, so opening up that other side of what it feels like to achieve the impossible, what it feels like to grow quicker than anybody ever thought possible for your business. You know, what it feels like to go from that place of struggling week to week to pay bills to that place of having security, having retirement, having wealth built up and things like that. That, you know, that we tapping into that side has just as much power to it as it does the other side. So what we do is we focus on building this side up through the vision and such, what some of the stuff that you've experienced and are experiencing.
Well, and Dr. Joseph, go ahead.
Yes, I mean that's a part of it, and that you know, I don't yeah, that's a part of it. Yes, the emotional intelligence. Yes, but again, we're so programmed to think logically into what we want to create, right? We come up with a strategy, we come up with an A and B plan, and I could talk all day on the A-B plan and stuff, but we come up with the plan, we come up with the action plan, we come up with the to-dos, and then we come up with the recovery plans for when the action plans don't work and all this stuff, and we take it all to logic. So emotional intelligence, I would prefer to live by just allowing emotions than an emotional intelligence type of a stream where I just allow, like, what do I want? You know, one of the things I did, man, I guess a couple years ago now is ran off of a 2,000 foot mountaintop strapped to a hang glider for the first time. And it was only to go through the fear because I thought I was afraid of heights, but I'm not. I'm afraid of falling. And I learned that in doing that. But in doing that, there was so much learning in that and stuff. And what happens is, you know, the 3 steps, you get 3 steps. And they tell you got to walk, jog, run in 3 steps. I've never been able to, you know, I've done it 7 times now. I haven't got the conversion, but there's so much fear in the thought of doing that. And when you're standing with the hang glider strap and you know you got 3 steps and you're going to be in the air and the first time, and man, I sweat like crazy. And I took the first step and I could feel my heart beating in my throat and everything in my head is going, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it. And after the 3rd step, when my feet left the ground, it was ecstasy. It was just the most amazing. It was like my whole desire in my life is to soar like an eagle. And I felt like I did that, you know, in that area, that way. And so just the other side of the negativity and the limitations and is truly soaring in life.
And Dr. Joseph, I'm willing to sit here and I'm willing to tell you that I have got a really strong feeling, and it's maybe not necessarily logical, but I've got a strong feeling that we are being heard all around the world, including a place in Kenya. And I want to bring Samuel in. He is running a program in Kenya. He emailed Rochelle today, and we will want to work with him because what he's working to do now, he feeds 350 kids every Saturday.
Wow.
And
I am
now,
so honored for you to be watching this. Oh, wow.
and so now he's saying that he's with his colleagues and his,
No
yes.
kidding. Oh my God. I would love to talk to you outside of this.
And we are going to, and I've already made the executive decision because I can. We are going to do a public service announcement for him so that people can, because people can contribute to building schools in Kenya, and it costs it's nothing. And it doesn't cost hardly any money at all. But the
Wow.
impact that it can have on people that you'll never meet, but for 25 bucks a month or whatever it is, that you can have an impact and change an entire cultural surroundings of what they have to deal with. And I have friends that and one of my fellow bus drivers, when I was a bus driver, they had a village, and in that village the women had to walk 6 miles to get water.
Yeah.
That's where the difference between where we are living and where other countries and other people in other countries, and bless his soul for doing what he's doing to try and lift up kids. And you should I would love for you to see pictures of him, because Dr. Joseph, the kids are in line and they look happy and they're fed and they've got their bowls in their hands, they're ready for breakfast and stuff. So he is one of our favorite people that listens to us on a regular basis, and now his whole village is listening to us on a regular basis. It's just remarkable.
And I just have to say, the impact we have is where the greatest fulfillment in life comes in. And coming on here with you guys today, I'm excited to get to talk to you guys. I always love talking about my message and getting to meet new people and stuff. But that like that hits deep. The fact of coming across paths with Samuel, is how okay, and make sure I pronounce it right. And wow, that. Whew.
Well, and Dr. Joseph, while we're regathering ourselves, I got to take a quick break, and we will be right back after this commercial message. It's just 49 seconds, so everybody stay put. And by the way, all the commercials that you're going to see today were produced by us for a particular reason, and that's to uplift everyone who listens. So that's the goal anyway. Let me play this one. I love this one so much. Here's another point to ponder by Positive Talk Radio. In a dark room, a single candle was lit. That tiny flame chased away the shadows, filling the space with hope. Your courage, your kindness, and your light may seem small at times, but it can change someone's entire world. Never underestimate the power you already carry inside. Even the smallest flame can ignite a fire that transforms lives. You are listening to Positive Talk Radio, where stories of hope come alive. And welcome back, everybody. We're talking with Dr. Joseph, and his last name, Rochelle, is
Drolshagen, right?
Well done. And we are talking about something that I think is absolutely fundamental to your core being of life, and that is you can helping. Well, you help me word this correctly, Dr. Joseph, because if you can change the way your subconscious mind operates because of the programming that you've put into it over time that may even be generational, and that you can change that to one of where I can't to one of I can. Is that appropriate?
Very, very close. And one of the things I didn't say up front is like how excited I am to be on here with you guys and your mission and what you do and the impact. This is incredible. This is like a new high for me as far as the level that I've been brought to and the works I do. And yeah, so we know today that 85% of the results we experience in our life are tied to the programming within that subconscious. So we can't change that. We can't change the way that the subconscious operates. All we can really do is identify the programming that's causing limitation and then shift that programming, which brings about rapid results as we do so. And permanent results into how we go forward in our life. So it's not about changing how the subconscious operates. It's about shifting the programming within the subconscious.
How do you know how to shift the programming when you don't even know what the programming is?
Well, the shifting. So first off, everybody is unique, right? One of the things I love about what I've put together with the SMT method is that, so many coaching models are concrete, right? The model is locked. And so you come in the program this way and you have to contort yourself to fit the model of the program in order to get results. So in other words, realistically, what's happening is you're being somebody other than who you authentically are in order to do that. The SMT method was designed only and all this stuff, it came through me. It's not from me. Like this whole program and stuff, So what it is it's a locked model, but it's fluid. So wherever the individual comes in from, it matches their uniqueness in their desires, in their programming, and what they want to experience in life. All of that is based on, even part of the program is developing systems of accelerating habits. And I've helped over 700 clients over the past decade. And I don't have two clients who have the same systems of accelerating habits. It's unique to the individuals. Okay. So then when we take that, go ahead.
Yeah, Joseph, I just have to have you confirm as you're saying this, that you're helping people find actually who they are, not change who they're supposed to be, correct?
Great question. So the wheelhouse I use, because I have a 28-year career in corporate America, a lot of the clients that come to me are coaches, business, some type of business owner that wants to grow their revenues in their business. But it's really all about, when you break it down, the core of it is personal transformation. It's about becoming that person from the inside to experience living that life on the outside. So yes.
Perfect.
And living that on the outside affects everyone around you too. It's not necessarily unique to you. I have to laugh because I've known Rochelle for a year and a half. And nowadays people are saying to her, you've changed. You're not the same girl you were. And it's because she's learning and she's growing and it's affecting people around her in a very positive way, isn't it, kid?
Yeah, and it's not this whole idea of what we have as change. I love, Joseph, how you said we're shifting. And it's almost like we're kind of coming back to who we are. I will share this. About an hour ago, I had texted somebody who I haven't talked to for a while. We check in with each other. And it's I explained how I'm doing photography now. And I got into this and explained, these are the memories and the moments we have to capture our story. Mm-hmm. And my response from this person was, where has this person been? Well, I had to look within. I didn't look outwards as to what I believe and who people say I am. I looked inward and I said, well, who is Burchelle and why does she do what she does? So really it's me learning who I am and coming back to myself. Yeah. It's not like an expansion outward. Does that make sense, Doctor?
There's complete sense to me. Every client I work with goes through that. It's not about going out and becoming somebody new. It's becoming the person who we came here being is what it is. It's becoming that authentic self. Yes. And that's what that is. And when we start realizing that, and especially as we're identifying and shifting those patterns of the limitations that we were taught, because we didn't come here with limitations. We weren't born into limitations, and it's based on the families we have, the communities we have, the schools we go to, the people we hang out with, the jobs we get, like all of that stuff is programming. We're going through programming the subconscious even as we're talking right now. Your whole message, that's what I love about it being a positive message, is people are getting programmed based on the message that you guys put out there with every episode you do, and it's so what happens a lot of times is we will find one of two things happen. Either people will notice that change that happens on the outside of us going inward, and be interested in that. Or some people that aren't ready for that will fade away. And they'll, and that used to cause me some upsets in my life, to seeing that happening in my own life and stuff. Because sometimes it can be people I was really close with. It can be love relationships, family members, like really close friends, even mentors, where that can happen to. And then I started learning, if I'm trying to hold on to these people to keep them in my life, I have to get away from my authentic self to be in alignment with them. And that means I'm not attracting more people to me that are in alignment with me.
Because of the energy level. The way that I look at it is, it's the energy level. When you start vibrating at a higher level and your energy gets higher, there are people who are still operating at a lower level that are not interested, and your relationship with them doesn't work anymore for whatever reason, because you've changed. You're not the same guy you were a year ago. What the hell's going on with you? I I liked it when we went out and we drank until 3 o'clock in the morning and then fell down, and now you're not doing that anymore because you're changed. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Because as we grow, we change. I have to throw this in, and because Burchelle, I'd known her for a year and a half, Dr. Joseph, and she has never told me until 2 weeks ago that she takes pictures. She has thousands of pictures on her phone. And I said, well, I'd love to see one. She showed me one. It was dynamic.
Yeah.
She has got a natural eye for doing this that she didn't even know she had.
Yes.
So it's an amazing transformation of things that are already within you that you don't even know that you're capable of doing stuff.
Yes. And it's funny because that's how I know one of the questions in particular that you asked me, Rochelle, you knew the answer to, because things like pictures, they spark emotion. Sunsets, sunrises for me, like things like that, nature, it sparks that emotion, that peace, that feeling, and so when we look at those things, we get sparked by that emotion. That's why, like what you do in photography, it explains a lot about who you are. And I understand that we have to get to an authentic place within ourselves to start opening up those doorways to have those experiences with that, and then share those with others to spark. And that's that whole, ripple effect. Is we do it because I do it because it brings me fulfillment. I love the works I do today, because I feel fulfilled with each client I work with, each conversation I have, like we're doing here. It sparks that for me, that fulfillment. And then as people change and as they start opening up, as people start noticing, there's that ripple effect that goes out further. And then as you pick up, like for you, photography and things like that, now it's your own unique way of sharing that. And it's not that other people, there's no other photographers from you, but nobody will ever take photography the way you do, because they won't see things the way you do. And that is so special.
Yeah. Well, and doctor, I have to tell you too, it's that touch on telling our story.
Yeah.
There's only so many ways that we can capture moments of our story. And a lot of us are, oh, well, that was just a moment in time, or that's just something that happened to me. It doesn't have to affect me, or that actually gets to determine who I am within myself. And when you have these pictures to look back, you see the emotion and the flow and the story. And you've probably realized in this work that you do, when you bring back to somebody, who are you and what is your story, and letting them know why that matters.
Yeah.
When I started with Kevin, he mentioned this yesterday, as to when you get hired somewhere, they don't ask you, why do you want to work here? What is your purpose in this? What are you looking to follow? And Kevin did ask me those questions, and it stood right in front of my face. And it is the reason that I stayed here, because it made me look internally. And when we come back from this break, I want to talk about that, working with people and the experiences and those moments of those pictures you have in your mind of them realizing they actually get to decide who they are and why. And it's not based off of circumstances or maybe even mistakes they've made in the past. Is that okay? Can we do that? Okay.
Are you asking me? Because I say yeah.
and I also want to add to that being you must be really fun because you get to see people's eyes and the light turns on and they say, "Oh, I had no idea it was this easy," because everything done correctly and with your energy and stuff, it can be really easy. And I created this because I was in management for a long time and I truly believe this. I would love your opinion of it when we get to the other side. It's just a minute and 10 seconds, everybody, but this is a very interesting thing. So, Dr. Joseph, we'll be right back. And by the way, don't let me forget, we have to talk about your book in depth when we come back as well. So, Dr. Joseph Drolshagen, I think.
Help him out, Rochelle. Help him out.
Dr. Joseph Drolshagen, myself, and Kevin. We'll be right back, guys, so stay with us.
You're listening to Brushwood Media Network, the best in syndicated talk, news, and entertainment shows.
Here are some points to ponder from Positive Talk Radio. You know, some say leadership is about getting the work done, about pushing forward, no matter the cost. But what's the cost of a team with no purpose? What if a single act of support, a single moment of genuine grit could change everything? What if leadership was a catalyst? Because true leadership isn't about being in control. It's about empowering others to find their purpose. It's about leading with passion and igniting the fire in everyone around you, creating a culture of teamwork and common purpose. A true leader finds this culture by enthusiastic purpose and team development, making each team member feel empowered to create, improve, and execute their tasks with genuine passion and a strong belief in the company's mission and focus. In other words, lead with purpose. And welcome back to Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald, and Rochelle is here, and Dr. Joseph, I can't pronounce your last name, is here, but Dr. Joseph, it's a pleasure to have you here. And by the way, I've already made another executive decision that you have to come back, and we have to do another show together. Would you do that, please?
I would love to, absolutely.
So
maybe I'll even change my last name for that one. McDonald.
That'll work. That'll work just perfectly. Rochelle, re-ask your question if you would.
It's man, it put tears in my eyes, like seeing somebody get that breakthrough happen. And there's so many examples of it with the clients I've worked with and stuff. And it's just like every time, it never gets old. It never gets like, there's another one now. It's always like just so incredible to see that spark happen in somebody's life. And that that's a door opening into their greatness and the impact they'll have on this world. It's almost overwhelming. Like early on, I would say, why me? Like, why? Like, I don't deserve this much, to have this kind of an impact on people's lives and stuff, And I'll give you one example really quick. I was on stage speaking. It was a few years ago. I was on stage speaking to it was cool because there was like 300 ministers in the audience, and then there were people on TV screens and stuff like that. So it was like really like awesome for me to experience that, and intimidating at the same time. And during the talk, I just had a moment where it just happened. I didn't plan it or anything, and I just stopped. And I just said, look at this kid here from Detroit, Michigan, speaking to a room full of ministers about prosperity. Like, how great is God? And when you ask me how that feels, Rochelle, it's like I get to live in that feeling over and over and over again. Like, how great is God that I get to do this? And my clients, if you talk to them, they'll say what a blessing it is they met me and stuff like that. But I always feel like I'm the one that comes out on top, getting to help people achieve that place in their life. And every client I work with, I tell them they're the heroes in their journey. I'm just a navigator helping them along the way, but that I get to experience the rewards of seeing that happening in people's lives. It's incredible.
Dr. Joseph, we had a guest on not too long ago and talked about being a hero. And Rochelle, do you remember the quote?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
And so when you decide, and let me ask you, is it a conscious or subconscious decision to decide that you are going to live your best life and you're going to listen to your intuition and you're going to really grow who you are? Is that a conscious, subconscious decision? Is that something that just comes to people because of the work you do? How does that work?
The decision is a conscious decision. Now, like the story of my life, like every client I work with, when I talk to them, there's something underneath the surface that's driving. It can even be, I was in corporate America making hundreds of thousands of dollars with the, title of VP of sales and golf course memberships and like all the benefits and everything else. I was freaking miserable. Like I abused alcohol as a way to keep living that way because everybody around me said, you made it. You've gone further than anybody expected and everything else, but it wasn't my path. It wasn't the path. I needed to go down that, but it wasn't where I was supposed to go, travel. Like it wasn't my stopping point. There was a crossroad that came through that. And the misery kept driving, the internal misery kept driving me to seek, but I had to choose at one point that I'm not a victim. And victimhood can show up in so many nicely decorated ways, but I just don't want to live. And what was my final result is I had a couple certifications in my coaching. I had been working on the whole subconscious thing for years and years and years. And my dad passed away of cancer. And a year later, my mom passed away and she just didn't want to be alive without him. And she passed of natural causes. And I found myself an orphan, still going to the corporate position. At that time, I was helping a company in bankruptcy get back into profitability. And it was like a $75 million organization. So it wasn't small. And I just couldn't stand doing it. And that, in that mix of all that stuff within that year, and then my mom passing within those 6 is when I said, okay, when we find new owners, I'm done. I'm going to, I'm resigning. And they tried to talk me into it. I bought a house down in the mountains of South Carolina, the way that I always wanted to live and stuff. And they wanted me to stay on board, even living, down here and everything else. But I knew I was no longer able to serve two masters. And I really wanted to serve what was in my heart for me to follow. And so that choice, I had to make a conscious decision that I didn't want to keep living that way.
Isn't it interesting? And I'm willing to bet you've worked with a lot of people, and I'm willing to bet at one point, all of them said to themselves, maybe before they met you, maybe after, why am I really here? What am I here to do? Because what I've been doing so far ain't it. It doesn't fill my soul. It's not who I really am. So how do I learn how to become who I really am and stuff? That's an important question that I think at one point or another, everybody that I've talked to, and there have been several thousand, they all say the same thing. I wanted to find out what difference I could make and how I could make it work for me to be of service to others and to lead a better life because I'm not happy with what I've been doing. Did that thought crossed your mind at one point when you were in the executive position?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Because we don't feel fulfilled living the roles that people tell us we're going to live, or even like for me, breaking out of the blue collar into the white collar, and it's not fulfilling. You know what's funny, you guys, is part of the thing I market is helping. The rapid growth specialist is what the nickname I've picked up along the way, and helping businesses rapidly grow profitable revenue. Do you know every client that I've helped do that in that transformation period, the money is no longer important. They came to me because of the money. The money is a sidebar to the whole thing of and tapping into exactly what you talked about, and Kevin, in the way you said it and stuff, is tapping into that. What's the real heart purpose of why I'm here? What's the mark I want to have? You know what? It's led me to doing what I do today, being here, right now with you guys, but it's also leading to me developing, like opening up an institution to certify other coaches in the SMT program to expand my life works beyond what I could ever do myself. And then even after I'm gone from this place, that the legacy of it carries on and continues impacting people's lives.
Tell us about the course you've created.
Yeah, the SMT method, it's multiple programs, but the SMT stands for Subconscious Mindset Training. And it's all about going in and identifying the limitations, the lacks, the things like that, which are unique to every individual. We can say fear is a common one and things like that, but it doesn't play out for every person the same way. So we get into the uniqueness of that individual and that fear, and then we shift that. And we have the tools within the SMT program to do that. So then it starts opening the doorway to greater growth with less effort to it. So in other words, we start achieving higher levels of business growth, or we start achieving difference in our personal finances or our relationships, or even what we're talking about. Ultimately, each person comes into that place of what is my mission? What is my unique mission in this world? And start tapping into that and start seeing it unfold more rapidly, or rapidly. I don't know the word, but quicker. That starts unfolding quicker and such as we go into that. Sorry for that little self-argument there, but I think I won. And
you can argue with yourself all day if you want to. I'm good with that.
There were times in my past when I did. But so it's just. No, go on. I'm listening. Yeah, I've so again, 40 years, right? It's taken that I've spent in doing this. So yeah, there were some breakthrough things in that and stuff, but it was a lot of struggle trying to understand this stuff, trying to understand as yeah. Yeah, right. But it didn't seem like that when I was going through it. And I didn't know this was going to be where it would bring me to and things like that. It was just, I couldn't stand being broken like I felt like I was. And even like other programs and the amount I invested in trying to fix me and things like that. So I've been a student of all the works I do today. And so what took me years to understand and institute and see any change at all come from, people are doing in weeks now, but yes, whenever I'd have that happen, that's what kept me going, is when I get some kind of a breakthrough and I quit measuring, when we look at that and people go, yeah, I got a small, because I always work off a positive. So whenever I talk to a client, we start out with what successes are we going to celebrate, and we're so often people will go, well, I have a little success, and I'll stop them and say, who determines the grandness of your success, And they'll say, well, I do. And I go, if that's the case, why do you ever want to put that small, big things like that out? You don't know where this small success can grow into, is going to grow into. So when we start opening the doorway, when I start opening the doorway, and I see my clients start opening that doorway to that, and celebrating those successes and getting into that place, they can only grow from there.
And they never, ever, ever want to go back, do they?
I haven't met anybody who wants to go back to that old self. And I will come right out and ask people that. I talked to a client the other day. Their business has grown beyond what they thought it would, is quicker than they thought it would, and things like that. And so we're talking, because now he's got to bring more inventory in. And as we're talking about it, I go, so do you want to go back to the old way and order just what? And he goes, no, I don't. I go, okay, this is part of the expansion. So this is another thing to be celebrated. But we don't see things like that with that programming that we have.
And the programming you can change if you choose to. And by the way, the name of your book is
Reprogramming Your Subconscious Mind, the SMT Method to Rapid Results. Thanks for asking me that question. Here's a copy.
And we are going to talk about that book and its impact when we come back from this really quick break. And please listen to this. This is also an important message from Positive Talk. The strength of staying kind from your friends at Positive Talk Radio. Kindness is not weakness. It takes real strength to stay kind in a world that often rewards anger, ego, and control. Being kind means choosing to act from your values, not your wounds. It means showing grace even when no one's watching. But kindness doesn't mean being passive. It doesn't mean letting people take advantage of your time, your energy, or your peace. You can be kind and still say no. You have a soft heart with firm boundaries. The strongest people I know are the ones who choose compassion without losing themselves. They've been hurt. They've been tested. And still, they choose to love and lead and to lift others anyway. Kindness is not about pleasing everybody. It's about honoring who you are and how you treat others, even when it's hard. So stay kind, stay human, and stay strong. And always remember this: be kind to one another, because each other's all we've got. And welcome back to Positive Talk. My name is Kevin McDonald. Rochelle's right there. Dr. Joseph is right there. And if you can pronounce his last name, you win. And, Rochelle, can you pronounce his last name, please?
Oh my God, you win the spelling bee. I love that message that you just played.
Thank you.
It was a real learning point for me in my life when I learned the difference between being nice and being kind.
And there is a total difference.
Huge, yeah.
And you be nice because you think everybody else wants you to be nice, and you're kind because you first of all, and we've talked about this before, but I'd love your opinion on it. I don't believe that you can be kind to anybody else until you're kind to yourself first.
It's all an inside job. Absolutely, Kevin. Yes.
And then it makes it possible for you to be kind to other people, because you're not vested in your success of domination over somebody else or any of those things. None of that stuff matters anymore. Now it's just a matter of you're doing your thing. I get to do my thing, and I hope that you're doing it well. I learned that when I was driving a bus for 12 years. Because I did the same thing as you. I was a national sales manager for a major poultry company, and then I drove a bus for 12 years. So I went from playing golf in hoity-toity tournaments and having $400 dinners and in vice presidents' offices and doing all that, to working with people who did not have $2 for bus fare. Yeah. But we're all human.
Yeah. Teaches in a whole nother level of loving life, doesn't it?
It does. Speaking of which, I'm also a firm believer, young man, that as an example, the gospel according to Paul McCartney, he wrote yesterday from his sleep. He just woke up with that song and it was complete. His mother, Mary, came to him and said, "Let it be." And you mentioned, and my ears perked up when you said this. You said, I didn't write this book, or that it was given to me.
Yeah.
And where might that have come from, young man?
Well, that came from my whole path, my whole journey is like, I mean, you can see so strongly where God has led the pathway and stuff. And the SMT method as a whole, the book, like being here with you guys, it hasn't come of me. It's not a spark of a thought I had, and here's what I'm going to do next. And here, it's a flow from God that came through me. We talked about like on, talking to people and things like that. When I first started talking, I was very intimidated. Like when I was in high school, if I had to give a paper in front of the class, I would skip or play sick or something. I would take a 0 on the whole thing. I'd write the paper, but I'd take a 0 on the whole thing because I was so afraid to speak in front of people. So to be on stages, it was within me all the time. So when I first started doing it, I would go get coaches, and I'd get this and I'd get that and all kinds of help and how to speak and how to deliver and how to this and how to that. And I went up on my first couple stages, and I was so far away from being me, and so what I learned from that is I don't need to ask people who do those things. I need to ask God to guide my way. And that's how I spend my life today. And in doing so, I'll go up on stage, and I love moving around because I have high energy and excitement and stuff like that, And so I'll tell people at the beginning of any talk is, they tell me that I give 10,000 steps at every talk I do. Because if you give me a 20-foot stage, I'm going to use all 20 foot of it going back and forth when I'm talking. But it's me. And the things I say, and the way it happens, I deliver services at churches and stuff, and I'll get like 4 fingers. I've learned that, and I like it, is I get a point for each finger. So when I prick it with my thumbnail, I know what point I'm on. But how it happens and how it's delivered, it comes through me more than from me in those things. And the same thing in coaching. I don't know what clients are going to bring to me every week. So I take a few minutes before the call and get into that place of just allowing and this conversation. I don't know how it's going to flow or what you're going to ask me and stuff. I just allow it to flow, but I get to be me as that's happening today.
Exactly. And I think Rochelle has disappeared for a moment, but she'll be back in just a second.
We're going to miss her.
So yeah, I know. Well, she is in the wilds of Colorado. And so sometimes when it gets, and she's in the plains, she's 7,000 feet up, but it's like in the plains of that higher elevation. And so when it gets windy and stuff, sometimes the stuff just goes away. But I wanted to ask you, how long has the book been out now?
It just came out a week, maybe a little over a week ago.
Oh, congratulations. Are you excited about that?
Oh, I am. I'm so excited. And yeah, I mean, just to see it and read it. And I've narrated it myself, which is now to bring it into a audio book and stuff. But yeah, I just love the way the whole thing turned out. And if you go to my website, you'll see similar things to this and stuff. So it aligns with, me and my branding and things like that. And one of the things I'm really excited about with this book is it talks about what I take my clients through. It talks about the different tools like developing a dynamic vision, developing systems of accelerating habits, how we identify those things that need to shift, and then the tools on how we do it. And there's even bonus material here where you can go to a website for most of the chapters and it'll follow through to give you tools to follow so that you can actually experience some of the change in your life as a result of the book. So it doesn't just talk about what to do, but it actually takes you through the exercises to experience it firsthand.
And I love the work that you do with CEOs and people that are in charge or leadership, because what ends up happening is you affect more than just that individual. You affect everybody in that organization. Yes. You can change because, goodness gracious. She
almost came in.
Hey, there she is.
Yay! Sorry, come on. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Hold on.
I'm fighting the internet, and I'm the winner.
I love that.
But you affect an entire organization, and so that affects the employees, and that can affect their families. Do you ever look at the scope of what you do and the impact that you're having? And are you like, I don't know, in awe of yourself?
No, 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 no. No, I'm never in awe of myself because I know this isn't from me.
But
I'm the
But
blessing that
but Rochelle, you say it before I do.
I'd like to challenge you to that, because if you weren't who you were,
Mhm.
you wouldn't be the vessel that is available to be giving this. So you have
Yeah.
to give yourself credit for that. Right, Kevin?
Absolutely, because of the events that you've had in your entire life, starting when you were 9, all the
Yes.
way through college and working with this, all the experiences, both good and not so good, that you've had, have led you to become the man that you are.
Yes.
And by the way, I'm willing to bet that you are a lot more emotional nowadays than you ever were before when you were in corporate America. I saw you dab your eyes when we were talking about Samuel and in Kenya.
We weren't even
And
on air.
huh?
That was a sneak. That was a sneak thing. Didn't know you could still see me then. I'll have to next commercial. I'm shutting my video off.
You're not the only one, I promise, doctor.
Yeah. But no, yeah, okay. For 18 years, I've had a prayer I've said consistently. God, I hope you're proud of the man I'm trying to be. And through an event that happened to me a little over a year ago I heard God said, he said, I am so proud of the man that you are. And the A-R-E was emphasized. And so I've changed that prayer now. It fills me. It overflows me knowing that I get to walk around believing and knowing that God is proud of the man that I am. So I don't need to have that proudness for myself. I can have glory for God. I can have love for God. I can have gratitude and blessings and all that towards God. I don't have to boost me. What I do isn't about me. It's about the people that I get to work with and serve.
And that's why we're here.
Yep.
And you've reached that. By the way, you're a young man yet. Do you have any earthly idea what you're capable of achieving in the next 15, 20 years?
No, one thing that has shifted in me is for so many years, I thought I was stuck in that lot of life of my programming. Today, I know to ask for the impossible and believe it's true. One of the things I run into when I'm talking with a business owner is let's see it again. I'll explain to them exact what my clients have achieved, like from 7.5 to $22 million in 12 months, or from 300,000 to $3 million in 12 months. And then, and it goes on and on and on. And most people won't believe, most people go, no, that's not realistic. And I know what's going on for them. They're stuck in the logical thinking of that, what's realistic for me. And that's how we live life. What's realistic. What I love to do is help people break through that into what's impossible and to build a vision around that, and then see them achieve that. Now, again, we can use monetary, we can use whatever it is, that great love relationship that I've helped, that I've been a part of helping people to open up to and things like that and stuff. But when we get to those things, it's that joy of who we've become as a result. And it's not a pride thing, because we know we couldn't have done that by ourselves.
But you also know it's only possible for others because you've done it yourself.
Yes.
And Dr. Joseph, I am so sorry, but we've run out of time. That's why you got to come back and we got to do this some more.
Okay.
And but if somebody wants to contact you, how do they do it?
The easiest way to get a hold of me, anybody, social media, things like that, I'm sure we'll put the links and stuff, but really is schedule a 15-minute call with me. It's an introduction call. There's no sales or anything. It's just to talk to people like what we're doing now. And they can do that at coachwithjoey.com.
Oh, that's perfect.
Right? Easy. Coachwithjoey.com. All one word, coachwithjoey.com, and schedule a 15-minute call with me. And we'll get on there and we'll just talk about whatever it is that the person coming on wants to talk about.
Thank you so much for being here, and make sure that you schedule yourself again, right, Rochelle?
Yes.
Absolutely.
DrJoey.com.
I will do.
And Please do come back. We have lots more to talk about. Thank you for your
I
time,
would love
Doctor.
to. This is awesome. Great conversation. It's such a blessing to meet you both and be here with you.
You as well.
And us, you as well, because you're making a difference in the world. And that's, if everybody did that, you know what? There wouldn't be enough time to have hate, division, or fear. We'd be all too busy having fun.
Yeah. And I love what you guys are doing to turn that into that, to have that impact as well.
Thank you so much, Dr. Joseph. And his website again, Brashell, is?
I believe you said it is visitwithdrjoey.com, or am I wrong?
Nope. Coachwithjoey.com.
Coach. Okay.
I'm not going to take any points away because you got the last name multiple times, even spelling bee style. So you're good.
Exactly. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Thank you, Brashell. Thank you, Dr. Joseph. Have a great day, everybody. Thank you for being part of Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald, where stories inspire and voices remind us of what truly matters. May today's conversation give you hope, courage, and a reason to keep moving forward. And just remember, till next time, be kind to one another because each other's all we've got.